Christianity stands today as the world's largest faith, claiming over 2 billion adherents across every inhabited continent. This religion traces its origins to the life of Jesus of Nazareth, a Jewish teacher who lived in the Roman province of Judea during the 1st century of the Common Era. His crucifixion around the year 30 is widely accepted as historical fact by scholars across disciplines. Questions of resurrection and divinity remain matters of personal faith, yet the existence of this individual finds support in multiple historical sources. The initial spread of this new faith depended on a small circle of devoted followers known as apostles. These individuals traveled extensively throughout the Eastern Mediterranean, establishing communities of believers in major urban centers. Around the year 36, a man named Paul joined their ranks after reportedly experiencing a vision on the road to Damascus. Paul dedicated the remainder of his life to spreading the gospel, which translates as good news concerning the death and resurrection of Jesus. His missionary journeys took him across modern-day Turkey, Greece, and eventually to Italy itself, where he established numerous congregations. According to tradition, the Apostle Mark founded a church in Alexandria around the year 42, laying groundwork for what would become the Coptic Orthodox Church. Similarly, tradition holds that the Apostle Thomas reached India in the year 52, establishing small Christian communities along the coast. Most historians question this claim due to limited archaeological evidence, though Christian communities certainly existed in India by later centuries. By the end of the 1st century, the 4 Gospels comprising the New Testament had been completed. These texts form the foundation of Christian theology to this day. Christianity continued spreading throughout the Roman Empire during the 2nd and 3rd centuries despite periodic persecution. Around the year 301, King Tiridates III of Armenia embraced Christianity and proclaimed it the state religion, making Armenia the oldest Christian nation in the world. Christians faced severe persecution across the Roman Empire, where emperors themselves were considered divine. The refusal of Christians to worship the emperor as a god marked them as potential traitors to the state. However, in the year 312, according to Christian chroniclers, the Roman Emperor Constantine experienced a Christian vision shortly before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. The following year he issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity throughout the entire Roman Empire. In the year 325, Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea, the first of many official church gatherings aimed at resolving theological disputes. Approximately 300 bishops participated in this council, demonstrating the early growth and organization of the Christian movement. The council established the Nicene Creed, a statement of Christian belief still used today. Nevertheless, Christianity remained fragmented, with numerous sects and teachings flourishing across the empire. Most disputes centered on the precise nature of Christ and his relationship to God and the Trinity. Around the year 330, Christianity spread southward into Africa. King Ezana declared Christianity the official religion of Axum, located on the Horn of Africa. This marked the beginning of the Ethiopian Church, one of the oldest in the world. In the year 380, Emperor Theodosius enacted the first Roman law defining Orthodox Christian doctrine. Christianity became the state religion of the Roman Empire. Throughout its territory, Christians attacked old temples, destroying some and converting others into churches. Later emperors banned worship of the old gods and persecuted their followers, who became known as pagans, a derogatory term suggesting backwardness and inferiority. The so-called barbarian tribes inhabiting much of the Western Roman Empire, including the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and Vandals, also converted to Christianity, though initially they adopted the heretical beliefs of Arianism. Around the year 405, Saint Jerome completed a new Latin translation of the Bible, which became known as the Vulgate. It became the official biblical text of the Catholic Church and remains the basis of the Catholic Bible to this day. Over the following 2 centuries, missionaries risked their lives seeking to convert pagan communities and their rulers. Converting an influential ruler proved a decisive strategy, often leading to the conversion of entire states. Christianity spread across Western Europe despite the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Around the year 432, St. Patrick traveled to Ireland to begin converting the Irish people. In the year 508, Clovis, king of the Franks, converted to Christianity, completing the conversion of Gaul. In the year 563, Columba traveled from Ireland to western Scotland and founded a monastery on the island of Iona, one of the oldest in Western Europe. In the year 589, Visigothic King Record renounced Arianism and converted his entire kingdom to Catholicism. In the year 597, Pope Gregory sent St. Augustine to Britain. He converted King Ethelbert of Kent, beginning the conversion of the English people. In the year 635, Alapin became the first known Christian missionary to reach China. Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty issued an edict permitting the spread of Christianity. Missionaries constructed churches and translated Christian texts into Chinese. Christian theology blended with existing traditions, adopting Taoist and Buddhist terminology. Meanwhile, Arab armies proclaiming the new faith of Islam conquered much of the Middle East and North Africa, seizing control over Christianity's holiest sites in Jerusalem. By the year 720, Muslim conquests extended to the Iberian Peninsula. However, most Islamic rulers tolerated Christianity in their territories. Although treated as second-class subjects, Christian communities continued to exist. By this time, medieval Europe had fractured into numerous kingdoms. Frankish King Charlemagne extended his authority over Francia, Bavaria, Saxony, and northern Spain. Wherever he conquered, he converted new subjects to Christianity, often under threat of the sword. In the year 800, the Pope crowned him Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, the first in an imperial dynasty lasting 1,000 years. Christianity continued spreading northward and eastward through new conversions of royal blood. In the year 965, King Harald Bluetooth of Denmark converted. He was followed by Duke Mieszko and the leading Polish nobility. Vladimir the Great, Grand Prince of Kiev, considered the founder of Christianity in Ukraine and Russia, converted around the year 988. King Olaf Tryggvason of Norway followed, sending missionaries to Iceland and Greenland. King Stephen of Hungary converted around the year 1000. King Olaf Skotkonung of Sweden attempted conversion but met fierce resistance from pagans. In the year 1054, tensions between the Greek Eastern Church, led by the Patriarch in Constantinople, and the Latin Western Church, governed by the Pope in Rome, resulted in a split known as the Great Schism. This resulted in the formation of the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. The Eastern Roman, or Byzantine, Empire came under severe pressure from the Seljuk Turks. In the year 1095, Pope Urban II called for a crusade to assist the Byzantine Empire and reclaim the Holy Land for Christians. He promised forgiveness of sins to those who participated, and Catholics enrolled in masses. The success of the First Crusade led to the establishment of several Christian states in the Levant. However, within 200 years, all of them had fallen to Muslim neighbors. Christian rulers achieved greater success in Iberia, pushing back the Muslim conquests of the 8th century. In northern Europe, crusades proceeded against pagans in the Baltic region and Finland. Meanwhile, Christianity continued strengthening its presence in the east. Papal legate John of Montecorvino crossed Armenia, Persia, and India to reach China, where in the year 1294 he became the first bishop of what would become Beijing. In the year 1386, Grand Duke Jogaila, the last pagan ruler of Lithuania, was baptized and began converting his subjects. In the year 1453, Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople, the center of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Constantinople had been considered the new Rome. With its fall, the Russian Orthodox Church declared Moscow the Third Rome, pledging to protect all Orthodox Christians. During the Age of Discovery, marked by great maritime voyages, Western European powers spread Christianity to many distant lands. In the year 1482, a Portuguese caravel reached the Kingdom of Congo. 9 years later, its ruler Nzinga A. Nkuwu embraced Christianity along with many of his courtiers. The king later renounced the Catholic faith, but Christianity remained the state religion of Congo. In the year 1492, Catholic monarchs in the Emirate of Granada defeated the last remaining Islamic rulers of Spain. The Christian conquest of Iberia, known as the Reconquista, was complete. That same year, Christopher Columbus reached the Americas. This event held enormous significance for the spread of Christianity. Further transatlantic voyages by Europeans would pave the way for colonization and conversion of this new world. In the year 1493, Pope Alexander VI issued a papal bull granting Spain the right to claim newly discovered lands in South America. The bull stated that the Christian religion must be exalted and everywhere increased and spread, and that barbarous nations must be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. The following year, by the Treaty of Tordesillas, Spain and Portugal agreed to divide the New World between themselves. Drawing a line on the map, Spain would receive everything to the west and Portugal everything to the east. Wherever Spanish and Portuguese expeditions went, Christian missionaries followed. In the territory that became New Spain, the Spanish imposed Roman Catholicism, forcibly converting indigenous peoples and attempting to eradicate native religions. The same process occurred further south in Peru and in Portuguese colonies in Brazil. This era also marked the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, with Europeans transporting enslaved Africans to the Americas as forced labor. Christianity spread in West Africa as a byproduct of the slave trade, and by the 16th century, Portuguese missionaries established Christian communities along the coast. Meanwhile, another major split of the Christian religion occurred in Europe. In the year 1517, German priest Martin Luther launched a devastating attack on what he considered corrupt practices of the Roman Catholic Church. His actions initiated the Protestant Reformation. Protestant demands for church reform spread rapidly, aided by the new Gutenberg printing press. They were adopted by several European rulers for mixed political and spiritual motives. Protestantism took hold in Northern Europe. In the year 1534, English King Henry VIII broke with Rome and declared himself head of the Anglican Church. From its inception, Protestantism divided into a staggering number of sects and movements, from Calvinists and Lutherans to Baptists, Anabaptists, Moravian Brethren, Anglicans, and Presbyterians. Nevertheless, Catholicism remained the dominant branch of Christianity. It would now spread throughout Southeast Asia alongside Portuguese and Spanish trading interests. Missionary Francis Xavier traveled across Asia as a representative of the Portuguese Empire. He landed in Goa in the year 1542, sailed to Portuguese outposts in Indonesia in 1545, and reached Japan in 1549, where Christianity gained many followers. In the year 1565, the Philippines became a Spanish colony and a center of European trade. Catholic missionaries ensured the swift transformation of Christianity into the dominant religion. In the early 1600s, Protestants from England and the Netherlands established colonies along the coast of North America. Many were Puritans seeking religious freedom and the opportunity to create perfect Christian communities. Missionary John Eliot contacted indigenous tribes in Massachusetts, and by 1663 printed the Bible in their native language. However, attempts at conversion met with limited success. In subsequent centuries, it was the spread of European settlers that carried Christianity across the North American continent. By the end of the 18th century, Europeans had successfully implanted Christianity throughout the Americas. Both in Britain and the future United States, this century witnessed several waves of religious revival known as the Great Awakenings. These led to the birth of the modern evangelical movement with its emphasis on Scripture and personal salvation. In the era of European imperialism at its height, Christianity spread across the globe alongside European settlers and missionaries. In the year 1788, Christianity reached Australia with the first British penal colony. The London Missionary Society dispatched its first missionaries to eastern Polynesia in 1797. Missionary activity contributed greatly to the spread of Christianity across the islands of the South Pacific. Christianity then reached New Zealand, where in 1814, missionary Samuel Marsden delivered the first Christian sermon. Christian missionaries spread their faith throughout India, among them Baptist pastor William Carey. Known as the father of modern missions, he translated the Bible into 7 Indian languages. However, Christian missionaries provoked outrage among many Hindus and Muslims. This anger contributed to the Great Indian Rebellion against British rule in 1857. This was the century of heroic missionaries, men and women who undertook long and dangerous journeys to save souls in distant lands. Scottish missionary David Livingstone was perhaps the most famous, becoming the first European to reach many parts of Central Africa, discovering and naming Victoria Falls. There were others. Adoniram and Ann Judson spent nearly 40 years as missionaries in Burma. Mary Slessor worked in Nigeria, learning the local Efik language to preach Christianity. In 1884, American Presbyterians arrived in Korea bringing both Western medicine and Christianity. The new religion gained strength. Today, nearly 1/3 of South Koreans identify as Christians. In the 1880s, European nations began the scramble for Africa, the colonial partition of the last independent African states. By 1914, they had seized 90% of the continent, bringing Christianity with them. China had largely resisted Christianity until then, and by the beginning of the 20th century, converts numbered only around 100,000. The spread of Christianity even faced violent opposition in the Boxer Rebellion, during which thousands of Chinese Christians were killed. However, extensive missionary activity after 1900 led to the construction of thousands of churches and the conversion of approximately 4 million Chinese by 1945. In the 20th century, the rise of communism became a serious threat to Christianity and other religions. Communist governments in the Soviet Union, as well as Central and Eastern Europe, liquidated the church and suppressed worship. Yet Christianity proved a more resilient doctrine. After the fall of these governments, Christian churches revived, enjoying popular support. Even in communist China today, despite strict state regulation, there are millions of Christians. Over nearly 2,000 years, the influence of countless missionaries and colonizers contributed to spreading the Christian religion across the entire world. Today, there are 2,300,000,000 Christians, nearly 1/3 of the global population, living and worshiping in almost every nation on earth. For those who practice Christianity, another faith, or none at all, this has undoubtedly been the most remarkable historical journey.